So, some quick things about how I think the matchup usually goes. I did a review with Janet about the matchup in general a while back that was okay. It was a little unfocused. It was just a tricky thing, I guess. There's lots of stuff going on for sure. So, on the whole, I think it's a pretty classic grappler zoner kind of dynamic, even if Lum doesn't always play that role in other matchups, where Rook needs to walk Lum down to the corner to force a guessing game that eventually leads to a knockdown in the whole mix-up. It's possible for Rook to score something sooner, but it's not super duper common. And on Lum's side, wants to build up a crushing item advantage, use dice to really harass Rook, deal chip or a big payoff if Rook commits to something dangerous. And if Lum can ever get Rook in the corner, Lum gets really strong pressure from items and melon in general. Good stuff. So, core mix-up ideas when Rook's jumping in, Lum's role, his ground B, is pretty good at anti-airing in general. There's some situations where it doesn't work out so well, which we'll see. But on the whole, it at least hits Rook out of everything. And except for, rolls good against everything but Earthquake, I guess is the proper explanation. So when Rook's jumping in on Lum, there's sort of that mix-up of Earthquake to beat the roll or doing a splash to catch Lum on the ground, or maybe Vines if the positioning is right to catch Lum's attempt to escape. So Rook, it's an okay guessing game. The payoff's pretty good. I think what I've found as we've played this matchup more with Janet is that Lum's supers are quite valuable. Even though at some point I thought that they weren't so good, they were safe jumpable or weak in different ways. It turns out that Lum's jackpot, because of how you don't exactly get a punish on block, even when you safe jump it, it's not as profitable as a lot of as blocking a lot of reversal. So it turns out that its value as a defensive tool is mixed, but it has upside that things like even Grave Super doesn't have. And Dice has some funny things too. So anyway, that's probably enough rambling at the start. Let's get into gameplay. So at the start, jumping in, there's lots of speculative jumps, I guess, because, and this is a thing that I guess developed over time against Janet. Round start, jump is pretty okay. If Lum's going for item tosses, coin is a really sad result for Rook, but everything else can give Rook advantage, get him close enough to start threatening mix-ups and things. So, staying on the ground, it's got maybe some upside, but Lum's back A is at the perfect spacing right at round start to sort of catch Rook out of any walk forward ideas where jumping forward gets Rook a little more advantage. So, in this case, there's a cake, not bad for Rook. This is a spot, and maybe we don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but something that's tricky for Rook is you really need to optimize all of your opportunities to gain space. So in this spot, I jump forward, Cloud doesn't become active until it finishes rising to its final spot. As soon as I land here, I think I want to keep walking forward. I've got another 10 frames, something like that, even more probably, before the Cloud's going to hit. And if I've been able to get a little more space, then maybe I can be in a more favorable position afterward. But so Janet throws some more stuff. Throws in a cherry. That's not so good for Lum, but Janet doesn't sweat it, right? Nobody's actually gaining life here. These neutral jumps were sort of, I wonder what exactly they are meant to achieve. I think there's upside for Rook doing these kinds of jumps because one of your best results is to Earthquake a Lum item toss, even though it's a pretty small window, not super duper common. So when I'm jumping here, I'm not sure what Janet's going to do, but if I see an opportunity that looks promising, maybe I go for an Earthquake. And I think after the cherries on the field, there isn't maybe a great reason to do this other than to fish for an opportunity to Earthquake. And Janet respects it by jumping when she sees me in the air. So works out okay. This is an interesting interaction. So Rook Splash is pretty good at getting around stuff, right? In this situation, it's quite possible that I get hit by Melon if I wait any longer to do Splash. Unfortunately, get hit as soon as I land, which means Janet gets to combo if she confirms that back air or something's good, right? Mini Rook hits the field. That's okay. Sometimes it comes up. Mini Rook's pretty strong just because, like, Rook's big weakness, or one of the ways he loses, is when Lum gets like a line of mini Lums on the field, something that he can walk behind that and protect that Rook has trouble contesting. So Mini Rook sort of represents that all on its own. Saves Lum a lot of trouble. And then getting a bomb right afterward is good too, because I don't really get opportunity to contest on the ground. So I do get knocked down here and get to destroy Mini Lum, poke the Mini Rook, but I'm just sort of locked down by the Mini Rook. Maybe... Oh, this is a good example of an important fiddly interaction. Whenever you hit a Mini Rook and he's in the air like this, due to a bug, I guess, it's not really an intended interaction anyway. Lum does an item toss, but it whiffs because Mini Rook's in the air. So maybe that's a weakness I need to exploit. I have the knowledge it can happen, I guess, but maybe when I do that clap, I look to be more aggressive, go for another one, or walk forward and set it up. Because here, when Janet whiffs an item toss, I'm not zoned out, and then because I sort of dawdle and waste time, another bomb hits the field. And then dice comes down. This is good. I definitely had time in here to get a clap on Mini Rook if I wanted to take it. Probably should have gone for it. Instead, I let myself get block stringed. I wonder where the die hits me here. I think I'm at flashing chip anyway, so it's not like the worst result. Be better to not get knocked down, that's for sure. Oh, a thing to think about too, when you see Lum jumping, if you want to knock a die out of the air, you have to start a back A sort of predictively around, like, while Lum's in the air before the jump A comes out. It's not really a reactive thing. The startup's long enough that you have to do it early, but it's a pretty okay answer. You usually don't get punished for it. In my experience, the recovery on Thunderclap's only 15 frames or something. So in this case, I just accept my chip and lose another life, which is unfortunate. We get one closer to killing the Mini Rook. And Janet's correct about this. This cherry's in a spot where it's not really a threat that I'm going to be able to pick it up. Janet knows I'm also wanting to clap the little guys, which sort of opens up weakness here. If I don't cancel, then I probably get to super here or something like that. I don't know if ground C on its own would work okay. But, okay, that seems like a weakness. Something to work on is if I clap at the time that it happens, if Lum's going to go for a roll or something, then the ground C is okay. Or if Janet's going to stay on the ground, maybe grab the cherry or whatever Lum would do. It's alright, but it's definitely weak to melons or other jumping things. And maybe I'm getting a little too caught up in, like, minutia of interactions in these different spots. It's often more important to look at big picture stuff. One of the really big problems that's gone on for a long time in this match is this Mini Rook hasn't left the field. So getting a throw on Lum here would have been a big payoff. It would have let me clear the Mini Rook and do some kind of mix-up on Lum as they're waking up. But getting down to 1 HP now means I've probably lost the round. I don't want to lose super, and in fact, now that dice is down, I probably want to just die as fast as possible. I have hope. I don't want to give up. This must be really close, though. If this clap hits the Mini Rook, then it gets cleared and I get to landslide forward, break the dice, and maybe it gets to be meaty. It's hard to say for sure. If it's not, then I just die. It's sort of a tricky thing. When you get an earthquake, you can walk forward for like 20 frames and do a thunderclap canceled into landslide and get the meaty. It's possible anyway. Or that's not even totally correct. Let me try that again. To get a meaty landslide, Rook has to kill like 38 frames or something like that. The amount of time Rook takes to empty jump is how long you need to sort of pass before doing your landslide. So Thunderclap has 25 startup frames, I think. Or no, just 20 startup frames. And then can cancel into landslide after the 21st. So, yeah, that's about right. About 15 or so frames of walking forward, which this is probably fine, just for fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So this probably would have been too late to not be meaty. It might be scary enough to that I actually get away with not getting grabbed. But I don't know. I think the Lum matchup really is tricky. It's good for Rook as soon as he gets in, but looking for opportunities to get meaty landslides and that sort of thing when there's many Lums on the field, it's definitely one of those really important distinctions that'll make or break the matchup at points. Oh, I probably didn't talk about the most important thing, which is when Lum throws dice, you have to earthquake it. I wonder if I actually got it perfectly this time. I did not as a counter hit. So if Lum's being really safe, they can always jump after dice and give Rook a 2-frame window to get the earthquake. As Rook, you kind of want to go for the knockdown if you can help it. I don't think it's really wrong of Janet to go for it. If I don't know, you can see the earthquake, so if you can react to it, then it's better to not just get knocked down, but I'm so low. It probably doesn't lose the round either way, but it was an opportunity. Okay, so in this situation, we're jumping at each other. I want to use vines here with the idea that Janet does like a jump and a melon, which isn't an unusual pattern after Lum throws out an item that locks down the field for a while. But Janet rolls, which is the right response to beat a vines. This is just a sort of 50-50 guessing game. Rook can earthquake to beat like melon or roll, or sorry, earthquake to beat roll, or Lum staying grounded and not reacting, I guess. But if Lum is playing defensive, they can just stand back and wait, which is probably the safest and cleanest option, or do a jump back or something. If Lum wants to be aggressive and not lose to earthquake, can do a predictive melon to really push Rook out and probably secure space before the bomb explodes. So this wasn't consciously picked when I knew what item was coming out, I think. Maybe it was. But either way, it didn't work out. So it's tricky to identify exactly what your opponent wants to go for, right? And if I didn't do vines here, maybe I land before the roll happens. But it's better, I guess, for Rook to try and pick up on the opponent's patterns, right? Whenever these... what's the opponent tend to do whenever they throw it out? So that's a good example. I'm not already in the air, which probably influences Janet's decision to use melon, right? But in this case, this is the kind of thing my vines wanted to catch last time. But this time I'm more passive, more defensive. When I should, in reality, be walking forward and probably doing a C grab on this. It's a weakness of me being too defensive, I guess. So walk forward, grab the melon. Getting C grab on melon is kind of sketchy in some cases, or command grabs in general, just because the melon does hit stop like all projectiles do, and during hit stop, grabs and things aren't active. So C tends to be better at beating Melon than Super in some weird ways, because Super lowers Rook's hurtbox some, which makes Melon hit later, so it's more likely that Lum's landing overlaps with when the Melon hits Rook, and then he gets to jump out of it for free. But I don't know, a lot depends on Lum's height as well. So in this case, I think walking forward and going for a command grab probably would have been better. So I'll keep that in mind. Pushing for space a little more whenever Bomb is on the field. These are fortunate item throws, so Rook's really happy to have these results. This isn't a very good Earthquake, but I think this is another one of those predictive ones that if Janet's aggressive and throws an item that sort of enables it, this is the spot where we saw a little earlier Janet threw like a bomb and then rolled. That's what this Earthquake beats. So I guess the big question is, if I see a cake and Janet sees a cake, do I expect Janet to roll for it? The answer is probably less likely. In this case, Janet just jumps and uses it as an opportunity, sees the Earthquake, goes for low dice, which is not punishable. So I get to take a little bit of time to clear a die. I accept that I'm going to block the other one, and a predictive Thunderclap helps secure the last one. Oh, hey, Izzy. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm going over games with Janet and then Wheezy. I got beat up by Lum in the last tournament, so it'll be good to talk through everything, kind of get an idea what can get improved. I haven't seen you on stream in a while, though. Got to get back to it sometime. I bet you've been busy, though. Something cool. Okay. Right, so we cleared the dice. There's fireworks in the air. Rook wants to take this time to move forward to... Oh no! What have I done? Alright. Well, sorry about that. We'll get back in a minute. Rook wants to take the time while fireworks are in the air to walk forward as much as possible before they land. Sometimes Lums will do risky things when fireworks is out there, but really Lum just sort of needs to wait till they're about to land, and then they kind of get to do whatever they want. They can throw a melon to secure more block string chip and throw another item. They can roll. If they do things too early, though, they expose themselves to risk for sure. Let's see. I think we're late in this round, something like that. Yeah. This is the spot. We throw the dice. We clear them. As he says, Lum is tragic. It's very true. Lum's really fun to play against, but it's definitely tricky. So in this case, whenever this is what I was talking about, by the way. So even though fireworks are in the air, I want to walk forward. This is what I should have been doing, like against the what was I gonna say? The bomb earlier when I was walking back. But this is just a tricky situation. Janet knows that I can't fight the fire. I'm not wanting to commit to stuff because fireworks on the field, but this is actually normal throwable. So reactions, I don't think it's super realistic. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 18, something like that, and there's 3 frames of startup. So I don't think you expect to react to most heights of like B and Lum going on a trampoline. But if your sort of Lum did anything reactions are tuned well, and you see Lum going toward the ground and just try to time a throw to catch him, then certainly would be a big blowout. So maybe more thing to focus on too, and maybe the mark of like a weaker matchup for Rook is there's lots of situations that are very payout, like rewarding, good payoff for Rook, but you have to, if they're like really narrow answers, then it certainly decreases their value. So back A is a pretty good way for Lum to keep Rook out during the walk down. The knockdown and the space it gets is really strong, and it lets Lum set up more items. if Janet landed this, probably gets item toss to walk forward and have meter ready for dice, depending on what item comes out. Maybe Janet gets to set it up again, and that'll certainly make the round a lot harder. I'll lose more space, probably get pushed back past mid-screen again. Thankfully I jump. Less thankfully I use vines. It was the kind of hard call out that I thought Janet was going to jump and melon, which is unfortunate. Going for something like this is what gets you punished. Janet could have thrown, but I'm glad that she didn't, I guess. This is much less rewarding than vines. This is a spot where call out vines would have been fine, but with our positioning, it's still pretty good. I think in this spot, though, jumping's not really necessary. There's some feeling I have that when I'm here, I need to do something to put pressure on Lum, but Lum's neutral A is actually a good anti-air. Janet doesn't use it that much. I don't know how finicky the timing feels, but a jump like this is something that isn't really safe. And when Janet does this roll, it just lets her out of the corner for free, and that loses all the stuff I worked so hard to get. So playing a more reserved game on the ground is probably a lot stronger. If Janet commits to throwing an item or something, we can go down the list maybe, but a lot of the things Janet does aren't super winning on their own. And if Janet finally commits to throwing an item and gets a bad one, I'm in a position to profit from food. I can knock mini lums and things out of the air. So I think the jump here is a mistake, probably because I had a powerful position. I could have even probably set up like a thunderclap mix-up instead of jumping. But instead, Janet gets out for free. And now we're reset. So I wouldn't be surprised if I lost this match because I was a little too eager to jump. Nice bit of tech, I guess, to look at here too, though, is when bomb is on the field and we're being properly aggressive. If you jump toward the end of it, bomb takes up a lot of space, right? I probably would have been fine either way, but you can always use Rook's splash. The momentum shift and the way his hurt box changes lets him get around the explosion. So it's a good way to maintain aggression, I guess. Powerful way. This is another good one where I probably could have walked forward and done a ground C to catch Lum out of it. I just wasn't brave enough. I was too defensive. So I think I'll probably just have to hit training mode and refresh myself on the situations that it's strong in, because there are ones it definitely doesn't beat. But here's another mini rook. That's unfortunate, right? So the upside when, and Janet does this pattern sometimes, if Lum throws a mini rook or a mini Lum and then does immediate dice like this, Rook does get a chance to clap and landslide, and depending on the height Lum was at, can maybe get a punish or something like that. In this situation, I did not. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I get hit by mini Rook here? I do. So this is why I didn't punish Lum, I'm pretty sure. Whenever I get hit by... No, there's actually no hit stop. That's super weird. Okay, it's just a height that was favorable for Lum. I was, oddly enough, protected from getting thrown or something like that because Mini Rook was there to block stun me back. But in this case, I take some chip. That's really unfortunate that that didn't work. Probably like a frame off from hitting Janet and getting a throw. But I think clap's probably normally okay here. There's not too much that Janet threatens directly, but it's probably not all that profitable most of the time either. It was probably meant to catch something exactly like this, and it just didn't work out. But staying uncommitted and reacting to stuff might be stronger here too. Lum can throw items and stuff, which is strong, but it's not as strong if I keep walking forward. I'm in a position, again, to control where food falls and that sort of thing. So using a thunderclap to sort of give that up isn't great. Although it would be quite good if it did what I had hoped it'd do here, catch the roll. Instead I take my 2. That's really unfortunate. So here, I do the thing I did last time where I jump, which is risky, and I do a splash, which loses to roll, so I almost repeated the same exact thing that happened earlier this match. Unfortunately, Lum falls pretty fast after Melon. And so not only do I fail to hit Janet out of this stuff, I get hit by Melon right as I land again, and that combos to the roll. Just an unfortunate series of interactions. So if I wanted to be stronger here, getting to this range and doing a Thunderclap is probably okay. Regardless of what Janet does in the corner in the air, Thunderclap at this timing is probably going to beat Melon, break it, at least to let me keep pressuring. It's going to probably catch a B on the ground for 2 and let me combo. With it being a jump back, I'm not really scared of a jump A or something hitting me. So again, I think staying grounded is probably the stronger answer over the sort of instinctive jumping thing I'm doing. It's not the worst option, but it's not great. So here I jump again because I can't stop, apparently. And then this is really lucky though, and a weakness of roll, I think I mentioned at the very start, is that there's some downsides to anti-airing with it, and if it hits splash like this late where Rook ends up on the ground, this cross-up one is punishable by throw, because Lum doesn't end up far away. Lum's always minus, he's just usually safe. This is too bad, so I should have probably known better. Quirk of the player, Janet, is that Janet will sometimes try to throw out of frame traps, which is a really risky idea in a lot of spots. There's reasons why it has upside against Rook, like if I go for a Thunderclap for really greedy pressure extensions, then throw beats me. But it loses to all the sort of conventional ideas of what Rook should do in this situation. With Lum being at 3, I should not forward A. There's not a good reason to do it. I don't think there's any excuse I have here either. It would have been correct to do a neutral A, right? Get a knockdown if I want to use a strike, or do any of the throw options. Lum isn't a character you can afford to let out of your mix-ups, I think. Especially when Lum doesn't have meter, it's really, really valuable to use a throw or something that makes Lum lose. Not lose, I guess, to lock Lum out of meter gain to try and close things out. And then, again, I can't stop jumping. There's some, and this is like a built-in weakness that I know I've had in the past in some games, and I guess it's manifesting again here, is that jumping forward feels good because you can make forward progress while attacking, so it feels like you're not really sacrificing anything to do it, right? There's lots of reasons why you don't want to. Specifically, like in this game, you can't air block, which is a really serious weakness. But I played Skullgirls at first. In that game, you can air block too, so there's all sorts of temptation to not stay on the ground, to do advancing aggression stuff. But what it has a lot of cost in committing you to doing something where sometimes it really is best to force your opponent to make a decision or to adjust the spacing ever so slightly to make it more advantageous for you. So this is a better example of me walking forward through bomb. I don't think I need to jump here. Against Janet, like Vines is a good answer here. Janet tries to be aggressive, I knock her out of the air. Instead I go for an Earthquake thinking Janet's going to stay grounded and try and set up an item. If I time the Earthquake correctly, like spacing wise I'm good here. Timing I was just too early on my jump, so I get hit by the bomb. Get comboed and lose a ton of space, which isn't so good. So, close item tosses like this, I wonder... yeah, that was throwable, it looks like. Lum gets a lot of advantage from being aggressive like this, but also I think honing instincts for when you can be counter-aggressive either with normal throw or ground super is probably a great answer here too. Both ways to sort of steal turn back. And that would give you the kind of edge you need. One knockdown like that would be very strong. You'd have to contend with Lum super afterward, but once you get in the corner like this, it's rough. You're going to lose life to chip. So the important thing is to be patient and identify when you've got a chance to escape. So after an item that doesn't create pressure, you can jump and try to use vines to break out through melon stuff, or you can stay grounded if you think that Lum is going to go for grounded pressure like a roll, or back up, like give up a little more space. Roll can also lose to Earthquake, I guess, so jumping on the hole's pretty good, but if Lum stays grounded, anti-air options are strong, and they put you back in the corner. Like a neutral A can bop you out of the air and give Lum a cancel to an item. So I think staying grounded isn't a wrong decision here, but it was an incorrect guess. So Lum got to keep pressure going. And then it is not realistic to react to every roll, especially online, especially like cross-continental connection or whatever, but that was like 18 frames or something like that. That should be doable. Especially when the only items are on the field are something like a fireworks. You as a player, I should compartmentalize this better. Take the fireworks and put them in a spot in my mind I'm not worried about, and leave myself open to react to things like this, because there's definitely some aspect of, if you're mentally worried about what you need to do about fireworks, you're going to lose frames, lose reaction time on grabbing something like this. So, or even just blocking it, to be honest, or ground supering it. They're all good options. But instead, I get hit twice and then I'm chipped out. So across that whole round, there are a lot of opportunities and definitely some situations I gave up advantage on I didn't need to. So it's characterized by a lot of maybe being a little more aggressive in key moments, staying grounded whenever I'm approaching the corner, and recognizing holes in my opponent's offense to try and punish and get advantage. Here's a good spot. This one I believe I should punish. This is the spacing is handy for Lum, like it's very far away, so it'll be only the very end of landslide that'll hit. But I did have enough time. I did thunderclap immediately, so I should get plenty of time. Yep, I even get to hit Janet out of this one. So very, very unfortunate thing. This is like Rook's Dream. Lum has no meter. Lum is in the corner, is knocked down. Get that. Get the knockdown. I think Janet correctly chooses Yomi there as a really high leverage option. Getting meter again and a knockdown means that Janet can, like, if she wants to give up Oki, can side swap, have access to that die again, and have the whole stage to get back across with. So in this spot, Yomi, I wonder if that wasn't a good frame trap. Like, I'd be willing to bet that. Would be willing to bet that Janet didn't. What might have been going for Yomi the whole time. We can't really tell. If it was a good frame trap, then there's not really a gap. But anyway, whenever you're playing defense against Rook, I guess this is the thing that Rook thinks about, but your opponent should too. That it's important to weigh the risks of what you choose, but like understanding the upside of a situation is strong. And after I've crossed Janet up, it's an even better position to get a Yomi counter, because, and as a result, it's higher risk for me. Now Janet doesn't have to give up Oki to get the corner, and has access to the die and has full meter, so gets to throw a cloud, which locks me down, gets to kick the dice in the air, which lets Janet do another jump and probably call a dice again because I can't move, and then get fortunate that knocks Janet down, but I make a bad call on a thunderclap, and as a result I think I lose the round. Even like, I was in a winning position before. There are other reasons like why I didn't end up winning, and I guess I shouldn't speak too soon, but when this is coming down, I think actually just doing a landslide is okay. Landslide lowers Rook's hurt box, so I would get under the die, maybe break one along the way, and I get to do a mix-up on Lum. So these are all things that I think the more... There are too many little interactions to really understand. You can't go in the lab and say, okay, when Lum's at this distance, and Lum hits this die with the neutral A, then I should landslide. But I guess reviewing this video or this match has some interesting value in reminding me that I should be conscious of these options and think about using them more, because it didn't even occur to me. It's like, oh, I gotta break the die, so I picked a bad option, got locked in the corner again instead of getting out, take several chip, get hit by the coin. So reacting to this is good. We both didn't, I think, because if I react to this properly, I should vines, because I get out of it. If Janet reacts to it properly, Janet should probably do roll, or like stay grounded and do a neutral A, because if Rook does vines and Janet jumps like this, Janet loses a bunch of value. Not that this is the end of the world, like, it works out okay. I'm gonna get chipped out here. So I'm at flashing chip. We get an item, doesn't kill me. I need to not earthquake here, and then jump again and go for earthquake. But your window to hit Lum is very small. So I miss it by a couple frames. And then I'm hit. Oh, hey. Hey, Kaiju, how's it going? Hope it's well. We're doing some replay review. So, I don't know if that was super duper useful. There's lots of... It's just like the Lum discussion from before. There's lots of fiddly interactions that are really minor. So it's difficult sometimes to piece together a complete picture of what the matchup's supposed to look like. But the important things is Rook has to interact with Lum's items on the fly and make good decisions around them, which is where all the fiddly interactions come from. But more importantly, be prepared to not commit sometimes, because it's not always in Rook's favor to like jump at Lum to take decisive action. Or sorry, decisive is probably not right. It's good to be decisive. It's bad to be committal. Oh yeah, I don't stream super often normally, though lately I've been running it a little more. It's been good, like, mental exercise for me, I guess, to go over some recent matches, and since it takes me so long to write stuff down on docs and things, it seems like a better way for me to get some notes out about different matchups in a timely way, so everybody can figure out cool improvements for Rook and not make these mistakes that I am. Okay, so and thanks for everybody who's hanging out. I know there's some of you folks not chatting, which is totally cool. I'm not worried about it. I just appreciate you having here, sharing in the knowledge. And if you have any questions or anything you want to bring up, you can share them. When this goes on to like YouTube, this section will be a whole lot less useful, but I guess there is a comment section there too, so you know, everybody will do what they will. Okay, so game 2. First loss wasn't great. This is a good result though. This is maybe the best kind of result, is getting a predictive earthquake that punishes Lum for throwing an item. We close distance, we get a thunderclap. This isn't a great thunderclap because Lum's too far away. So in this situation, it would have been better to do an empty jump and then landslide to get immediate landslide and do the mix-up off of that. And I say that because Janet knows to jump out of this. It wasn't even meaty. I did a slight walk forward, I think, after the... Yeah. Walk forward after the landslide. But the other important thing is that some characters, when Rook does like the landslide cancel off of Thunderclap, it'll catch them jumping and be powerful in some way. Lum is a character that even at like point blank with a meaty Thunderclap, you can't... Maybe a meaty enough Thunderclap does it, but like a normal Thunderclap, even at close range, Lum's jump totally dodges landslide. It just whiffs. It's very unfortunate. So you can't even like chip out Lum with it in different situations. So in this spot, after Lum blocks, it's totally correct for... Oh no! What have I done? Alright, I mixed us all up. I talk all this stuff about how Janet's going to be smart and jump back out of it. I don't listen to myself. I do the command throw. And Janet doesn't jump out of it either. So, and maybe I'm just totally off base. That's a really uncomfortable angle for Lum. But I think Janet just jumps out of here normally, and I think that I should probably go for a throw if I'm going for anything at all. Anyway, if I do the media landslide, we'll back up and do a little theoretical. If I do the media landslide, then I probably Yomi, because I know Janet likes to throw even though it's dangerous. But if Janet like jumps back or does something defensive, then I still get space. I still get pressure toward the corner. So anyway, get this throw. Advantageous. Jan's been blocking a lot on Wake Up, which is a good answer to how I usually play stuff, right? So I do the throw. Important to keep an eye on that point of chip Lum's got. It's really dangerous because without, I guess even with meter, if I land another 2 damage option on Lum that preserves chip, so either throw or command throw, then Lum is put on flashing HP and chip and is in danger of getting knocked out. If I do a normal throw, I've guaranteed chip out. If I do the command throw, I don't have back A landslide for the reason I mentioned a little bit ago. So you have to do like a back A, forward A or something like that, which is okay against a lot of people because they won't be brave. Janet will probably try to throw it, so you just go for a conventional Oki option. But yeah, I understand. As a quick aside, if you're ever looking for matches, as a general recommendation, check out the online Play Chatter channel on the Fantasy Strike Discord. Always a good spot. Find some folks, hang out, have a good time. Okay, so Janet does this opener sometimes. I need to, like, and I have in the past, react to this. If we both jump in the air, and I'm trying to react to an item toss, in general, I will not see Lum in time, and I will not react or like win the air-to-air exchange. So Janet does a totally predictive, early as possible jump forward A. I should command grab this. Because I walked back, this actually whiffed. I can get a normal throw. So it's a very powerful position for Rook to be in. Unfortunately, I don't take advantage of it. Need to make sure I'm in tip-top shape for tournament day, I guess. But I do get good walk down. Janet, oh, that's a good thunderclap too. Janet throws dice. It's not like a terrible position for Janet to dice in. I didn't earthquake because I wasn't confident that I was going to land it, and the like downside of missing it's pretty bad. I'm also close enough that we're in a pretty threatening position right now already. Right, so in this spot, a throw's not bad maybe. Getting Yomi would be really bad. Lum having dice and a full super meter is definitely very, very dangerous. This thunderclap though is maybe the strong answer against having Lum in this walk down position, even when dice aren't here. Lum's ways to contest it maybe aren't the strongest, and if Lum like tries to jump out of it, you get another mix-up off of it. You get powerful knockdowns whenever it hits. It's good stuff. So go for it. I go for the safe jump here. This is another really high leverage Yomi counter. There's dice on the field. I just put myself in the corner. I should probably put more stock in against like a strong zoner like Lum. Some zoners, when they Yomi counter, they side swap with you, and I think about that whenever I decide to throw them or not, because a lot of Rook's Oki ends up crossing up the opponent. So you'll like cross up and you'll do a throw, and if they Yomi counter, they put themselves back in the corner, so it's not so bad. Lum doesn't do that, so I should probably put more value in running a more basic three-way mix-up on Lum that doesn't give up the position I worked so hard to get, because I think giving Lum this space is what loses me the round. Good Yomi call on Janet's part 2. Quick question from Kaiju. Who do I play besides Rook? Nobody. Ha! Got him. I like dabble in other characters some, but I don't play any of the others at a level close to what I do with Rook. So that's how it goes. But I like Rook enough that it makes up for the lack of everybody else. Means I don't play 3v3 tournaments though, for better or for worse.
What's this? Here's your melon.
Okay, so this is like a crazy scary position. I maybe could do like a predictive clap, but with dice on the field, making a guess is extremely dangerous. It's very, very, very risky. And if Lum does like a jump back A or something and bonks the dice at me, then I could get hit really bad if my clap's like not at a useful time. If I think more also important if like Lum stays grounded, if I clap reactively to the jump, which can work against dice, I lose to melon. If Lum stays grounded, then clap is pretty risky because something like roll or whatever presents a lot of damage with the dice on the field, or any grounded button. I guess forward A or whatever works too. And there's definitely also the fear that if timing works out in Janet's favor, I can wake up into a bunch of fireworks or something and be in danger. But
here's your melon. Have a melon. Items. Melon. Items. Vines.
oh yay, vines. Vines is really good for helping escape the sort of corner trap situations. It's fortunate that that one happened to catch in that manner. This situation, landslide's pretty good to get space back. That isn't a very good earthquake. I jump at the same time the item goes out. I think I've already committed to earthquake, so it's not the end of the world or whatever. But, after, that's not good. After food's on the field, there's no reason for Lum to stay on the ground at that point. Some Lums will like be really eager to like roll and grab items whether they help them or not, especially if they help them, right? And that's understandable, but it's very dangerous against somebody like Rook. So Janet takes my whiffed earthquake opportunity to throw dice. It's kind of you to say kaiju. I do play some Guilty Gear, and yeah, I play Potemkin. It's fun. He's got good options, good strengths, that's for sure. Getting dice set up here is strong. I'm like a little proud of this vines. It's not a really good option, right? I think it gets me punished pretty badly. But there was some idea of like, oh, I have to get around that green die because I don't want to take a bunch of chip. So I'm gonna vines, break the purple die, be immune through the green die. Get hit by the orange. You play May? That's nice. Hit him with that dolphin. So, on the whole, this wasn't worth it. I would take less than 2 damage if I just took my chip, right? And Lum's so far away that after poking these dice at me, the only way that Janet really pressures me with the last die is with something like a roll, something high committal. So, I could block, except my chip. Janet doesn't have meter for a while. Would maybe pick up the cake, which is pretty strong for her. But, depending on the timing that Janet uses for that roll, staying and blocking might actually allow me to do something like a ground super 2 to catch the roll, even despite the die. So another case where sort of an ill-advised committal. It's fine. It's unfortunate timing. That's the spot where I want to do a jump forward A. I was a little late on the timing to lift Rook's legs up, get past the bomb. Instead I get knocked down. And this is a really vital moment. Fireworks are starting to come down. If this hits, odds are really, really high that I end up winning the round because cinematic means fireworks are going to expire. Janet does have meter, but I'm threatening really dangerous mix-up stuff. But this is an interaction that Jen and I learned through playing the matchup a decent amount, that for some reason, dice pulls back Lum's hitbox or makes... I don't think it's about distance exactly. Head Crush's cinematic depends on it hitting in early frames. So I don't know if there's like a tiny amount of invincibility on dice, or maybe it does pull Lum's hurt box back and then it comes back into place afterward. But you'll see that it doesn't hit. We'll see, I guess, as soon as he finishes rubbing his hands together. His dice hands. Going frame by frame. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so as the cinematic's ending, Rook can't hit Lum for whatever reason. 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's actually quite late in the Head Crush active frames. My invincibility's over by the time I hit. And as a result, I can't cinematic him. So the dice don't come out, but I'm left closing in on Janet, and dice are going to come down and put me in block stun. So instead of being on top of Janet and getting a mix-up and fireworks being off the field, I go back to full screen and take a point of damage. It's like horrible. So it's a really good use of meter by Janet. Other Lums should do it, but I don't know who knows about it, right? But what I should have done is gotten this knockdown, kept walking forward, and then blocked at a better time, but I honestly had no clue with my cinematic and Janet's cinematic playing. I had no clue how much time was left before fireworks, and I didn't want to die from just getting bonked on the head randomly. So if I were a better player, maybe I could walk forward and not give up so much advantage, but I'd still be taking chip and still be at 1. And then I die. I didn't need 2 vines, I think. It's hard to say. I'd probably get hit by it if I don't vines. But maybe better is to not jump if there's a cloud out, you know? And it's appropriate punish. Takes me down. If I don't vines there and I stay on the ground, then not too much happens. Jan doesn't have meter to pull out dice yet, but it means that I'm like 1 bad item pull away from getting in a chip out death scenario. If not because of the item itself, because Janet gets to throw dice out. Good use of B. It's a very questionable Earthquake. What was I trying to catch there? It wasn't at a time where it could hit Janet's thing. So it was a risk thinking that Janet would do like a jump A and then an item toss or something probably. Pretty sketchy. Because I think I get punished no matter what and don't get good Oki for it. Good setup for Janet. I clapped the Lum. After this, if you delay long enough, you can actually catch Lum landing from that melon. I did not do it. I'm not already clapping, so landslide doesn't work here. Yeah, it doesn't work. All there is to say, really. Maybe doing some kind of jump and earthquake thing would have been the right play.
Take that. Look out. Earthquake. What's this?
So things are going sort of normally, trying to close space, trying to clear the mini Lum. I whiff on my neutral A, which is really, really bad. If I had cleared it, then I would have gotten to command grab that pretty cleanly. Or could have taken the guess anyway, right? That's unfortunate as well. I jumped to get over the bomb. If I'd reacted properly, then I get a jump super here. You have a lot of time to see that okay, you don't actually have a lot of time. That was really well timed by Janet. It's very late. But that would be the way to win that interaction if I see that Lum's moving toward me. Instead, I get pushed back toward the corner, get locked down. I'll take my point of chip. Good result for Janet. Still even has a die on the field. And sorry about that jump backward. This is probably ground seeable. I'm just not brave enough, you know? Instead I try to jump, which is in some ways even braver, I might say. Bad decision to jump super. I don't know what it was really meant to beat. I think it's more of like a desperation thing, some idea that it would work. like break the dying, let me land safely. At that angle though, an earthquake probably would have beaten the die too, and maybe knocks Lum down. So
Perfect. Round 5. Fight.
I think it's coming down to, again, like these fiddly interactions that are coming off of item tosses and things, and not quite recognizing the spots where I have opportunity for advantage. So bad item pulls for Janet, which is good for me. I miss another neutral A poke.
Here's your melon. What?
Alright, this is fortunate. Janet manages to anti-air me. I get this. So strikes have extra upside here because they clear dice. Oh, and then I don't confirm into the KO, but it's fine. I don't get punished for it.
Round 6. Fight. Catch.
Good punish on that. It is sort of a 50-50 guessing game with the way that we play that interaction, Janet and I. Janet doesn't tend to go for anti-air too much directly, so Earthquake's pretty good. Clear that. I get to... This is another good example of Janet doing the questionable dice timing. So did I, like, skip forward at some point? Bomb. Jump over it. I get hit. Oh, it's Oki coin. Gotcha. So, loses a bunch of space. We get toward the corner. This is an earthquake that works out fine. Get the knockdown. Good Yomi counter. Good patience. And bad jump super. Now Janet has the whole screen. She gets back to her die. I break the die, but Janet gets to set up again. Back A would have been effective there to break those dice on the way. I think it was telegraphed enough that I could have reasonably expected to do it. That's a pretty good earthquake. This is something that I think is strong for Rook to do, is to use the earthquake timing right around the explosion to dodge both hits. And even if Janet like jumps forward, Janet doesn't get like a clean punish on it. And if Janet's trying to do more setup on the ground, then it's pretty punishing. This is not a time to do jump C, so I do splash instead. You can't see it because it's off screen, but that's how I dodge over the bomb. And forward A to bonk Janet back. I wonder if I do like a back A or something, I might win the round off of catching Janet's landing. Instead I die, I think. Yeah. So. I think the most exploitable gaps in my play are making some questionable decisions under pressure, maybe, and not fully capitalizing on the right decisions. And I think very importantly, Janet has guessed right in Oki almost every single vortex at least once, and one right guess is enough to get her out, because these like neutral situations are breaking in not in my favor as well. So for adaptation, could maybe look at, you know, throwing a little less with how much Janet does Yomi counter, looking at other ways to get value. But all really well played by Janet. Honestly, I think Janet's just creating more situations that I'm not correct at responding to, and to be able to compete consistently, I think I just need more time, right? More experience running the matchup. It's not so much something that I can like look at a specific interaction and say, okay, I'm making the wrong decision here, and it should be something like this. It's, you know, a lot of little things. Okay, so I don't know if that was super duper helpful. If anything, it goes to show that there's some key interactions around like Earthquake beating roll, Vines being good against melons, wanting to move forward when you can, and not committing to a jump when you get Lum close to the corner. Those are more fundamental ideas. But the matchup as a whole comes down to many, many fiddly interactions that are important to understand and make good decisions around, about when you should contest what Lum's doing.